Hey, Divi Awards community, this is Dominic de Souza. I have with me Josh Hall, who was one of the judges from the August Awards. So thanks for joining us, Josh.
Yeah, good to be here with you, Dominic.
So today what we're going to do is we're running through the top three contestants from the awards. And what we wanted to do was talk through some of their best points, because the big reason why the awards was started was to help give Divi designers good designs to look at, to emulate, so that they can become better designers faster. And then, of course, the best ones get to become award-winning designers. So it's a little less about how incredibly crazy and creative you can push Divi, and more about how you can create beautiful, functional design to be using for your clients. So let me go ahead and we'll share my screen here. And there we go. So let's talk real quick about the MedPark website. So big reason why I picked this is, yes, it is quite simple relative to some of the other sites. Let's get this double going here. But what's nice about it is how simple and clean it works. The typography, I think, comes across really strong. And I think that's actually an undersung hero when it comes to a lot of Divi design that I see, is how people are using typography. Any thoughts there, Josh?
Yeah, it's a big one. It's interesting because I actually didn't pick this one. However, I do agree it's a very nice, clean site, which, to be honest and to be frank, I mean, all the sites were really nice. There was not one site that was in the awards that was like, oh man, this doesn't have a shot. You know, they all were very good and are great models to look after. I think this one, though, in particular, I'm going to pull it up on my end just so I can double check as well, because I think I almost was looking at more vibrant and eye-catching designs, whereas to your point, yes, it is a simplistic, minimalistic design, but that doesn't mean it's not great, and it doesn't mean it's not powerful.
Mm-hmm.
To your point, typography in particular is nice with this one in relation to just line height. There's not more than a couple different fonts used, and there's not a different font colors, which can also be really distracting, particularly for a corporate brand like this. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this one is just as wild as it needed to be overall.
Yeah, for their audience, being corporate and then being medical makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump over and we'll leave self-obsessed for last, because they're just a treat to look at. We'll go to Rachel Cannon. So I think it's a little bit of a girl boss, kind of florid. It's got some fun. I'm loving the little accents that she's got in here. And just what I really liked about this was the intentionality of the design. There's a bunch of designs where people try really hard to capture this aesthetic, but there isn't a consistency of textures, of typography, of elements, and they keep layering different things as it goes down the page. What's nice about this one, I thought, was they chose a couple of colors. It's basically gold, pink, and black, and then they stuck with it the whole way down for the layout, right? Anything that jumps out at you?
Yeah, I'll echo that. Similarly to the other site too. I mean, this one is fairly minimalistic and simple in some way, although simple can often be very hard to achieve when you're designing a website. So there's a lot of good there's some openness and white space in here. But yeah, to your point, I totally agree. The one thing I liked about this one too was the branded elements. Like, there was a very clear, it looked like they probably had some sort of color palette or brand style guide to work with,
Mm-hmm.
and they did not deviate from that. So they had good choice of headers with some typography, and I feel like this one could get much more extensive and kind of have an over amount of text or an over amount of imagery and stuff like that. But it seemed like it was just enough. It was very concise as to who she is, what she's about, and some good call to actions as well. So yeah, those were some of the main pros, and one of the reasons I voted for this one. And the main hero section is very engaging. Now, with a great image, it's easy to do that, but with the little subtle effects they did with the logo, and again, just the all-around branding, cohesion, and streamlined look, I thought it was very well done.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And you're right about picking and sticking to a brand style guide or brand guideline. The hardest thing is actually nailing down maybe the top 3 or 5 colors that you're going to use, and 2 out of those 5 are just going to be shades of some of the other 3, and then having the consistency to stick to that across the different pages.
Yeah, and I would even recommend if a client has no sort of brand style guidelines or anything like that, just the easiest thing to do is to pick two main brand colors and then an accent colors for call to actions. And then, yeah, maybe a few sub colors that might be variations of those for subtle backgrounds and textures and things like that. That's kind of the rule of thumb that I base all of our designs off of. And it's worked pretty well, I think.
Absolutely. Well, and perfect case in point is going to be this last one here with Self-Obsessed. They have hilarious name, hilarious logo. I mean, just look at these guys. They're crazy. And what just blew me away with this one here was, again, as you notice as you scroll down, they picked like 2 or 3 colors for the layout, but then they allow the pictures to be their own colors. And then even in the pictures, they identified certain bold pops of color. Yeah, this one was just hilarious. And then they're using like multiply elements or something. Look at that, to get some of that consistency going. This is one where it's like you don't see this kind of thing too often, but it's kind of what you'd want or what you'd expect to see in a super creative, well, design agency.
Yeah, it's interesting with this one because you might think like, wow, that has a ton of colors, but actually they
Yeah.
only are using the pink, the green, and then like the black. It's really 3 colors. And then to your point, with the images mixed in there,
Mm-hmm.
it gives it that feeling like there's a bunch of different colors. But in actuality, they're actually just using 3 colors, or maybe 4, with the text being kind of the gray color, the paragraph text. But yeah, this one was my favorite, not only because of the hierarchy and just the vibrant colors and everything, but I really liked what they did with the images. It shows you how powerful customized graphics can be on a site, and it completely detracts from the typical Divi look where maybe there was just a square image of that character originally.
Mm-hmm.
Now with it, with a transparent background, maybe in a splatter behind him, it just gives it a whole different vibe and feel. So yeah, I thought this one was a perfect mixture of good design, good hierarchy, and then obviously some really intentional graphic designs. Particularly, like if you scroll down, Dominic, the giraffe was one of my favorite ones. Um, it's very clear that they did not actually put a pirate hat or an eye patch on a giraffe.
Uh-huh.
So it was very well done, photoshopped. And yeah, these are just great ways. Again, a design like this with typical square images is not going to have near the impact it would as something that's cut out and something that has some multi-layered elements behind it. So yeah, very well done. And again, I'm just blown away. I really didn't think about this until now, but yeah, the colors, I kind of thought this one had all kinds of colors at first, but there's only like 3 main colors. So very well done.
Yeah, and it's a great testament to having the restraint to build a to build a what's it called, a color scheme, to create a color scheme that you can then iterate and do all kinds of things with. But the color scheme is part of your layout. Once you define it, stick with it, and then you can riff on it.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier for brands like this, or particularly like for photographers. Photographers really don't need more than a couple colors for their websites because their photos are what's really going to be the eye grabber. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're working with like a lawyer or something like that, that's where you can probably get a little more, into some different colors, just because if they're going to have a bunch of paragraphs to work with, you got to spice it up, got to make it interesting.
No, it's true. It's actually kind of like the difference between like Instagram and then really, well, any other app, right? Instagram recent redesign has been okay to like completely pull back on all the colors, and the app itself is simply black and white to showcase the pictures. Like, to your point, if you're a photographer or you're dealing heavily in media, half the time your brand scheme or your layout is going to be almost non-existent because it's all about the incredible media. Um, as opposed to any other business where you don't have a lot of media, then the layout does have to pull in a little more, and you're doing overlays on images and communicating, the brand through big, use of color or strong images. So
Yep, absolutely.
I think all 3 of these do that well. Like this, again, MedPark, very reserved, big, simple, imagery. He could have used a really dense photograph of the inside of the office, but there's actually a value to using, something like the front. Um, this one here, it feels like it breathes, even though the uh, well, no, even though it's just fantastic. It draws you in because it is a great photo. And this one here, it captures the imagination because they're crazy. And I'm assuming these are the people who actually are in the business themselves. So leading with that front and center, rarely done, but hey, it creates an instant connection.
Yep. Yep. Totally agree, man. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a good mix of three sites to pull from because they're different in some ways, but very similar in the
Mhm.
same. So
This was awesome. Hey, Josh, thanks so much for your time. And again, congratulations to Aika. And we are looking forward to the September awards. So if you haven't joined, please do. And thanks for following the conversation. We will catch you next month.
cheers, guys.